Listen.
Welcome to Nintendo Voice Chat episode 432. I'm your host, Zach Ryan, and I'm joined today by Per Schneider.
432 again?
No,
Okay,
that's not
keep
true.
going.
Brian Altano.
432 again?
No, that's not true. And over there, Tina Amini. Hi, Tina.
234 again.
Tina doesn't get the joke. Tina, we haven't seen you since Germany. How you been?
I've been good. Yeah, this is only my second time on NVC.
Yeah, I know.
Crazy.
Well,
I feel like I've seen you more often than that.
well, I mean, we've seen her in the office.
Oh, on the show. Okay.
But she hasn't been on
Yeah.
the show
There you go.
since
No, only
our
second
special
time on
German episode.
Okay.
I mean, every episode is a special German episode with
that's
Per.
true.
Aw,
But
Dankeschön.
that one
It
in
was double
particular,
German.
that one in particular was actually in Germany. So
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
I'm
How's
also
everybody's?
in German.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
we
we only
all
spoke in
speak
German.
fluent German. Yeah. How's everybody's week?
What?
How's your week going?
Oh, how's your week?
Yeah.
My week.
They said, how's your weed?
My week's. Can you tell? I'm just super tired. We've been waking up early.
Okay. We're 50 seconds into the show and you made a Wii joke.
No, it's the
usually your
Nintendo
job.
Wii. He's asking
Yeah,
if he
I
still
know.
uses his Wii console.
Right. Hey, how's your
fair.
How's your Wii?
My Wii is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do your kids play your Wii?
No, they don't. Not even the Wii U is getting the workout anymore.
No,
It's
yeah,
a
we talked
valid
about that
question.
before on the show. I spit on you a little bit.
No,
That's
it's
I
okay.
spit when I talk when I'm excited. We talked
This
about
is
that a
going
little bit
great.
before about how we have those consoles, but they're not hooked up and like they rarely get played.
I
But-
still have the Wii U hooked up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I keep on opening the drawer and I see some games like 3D World, for
Okay.
example, and I'm like, I gotta play that again.
Yeah.
But when we have young kids, like parents over with young kids, then everybody plays like
Yeah.
Nintendo Land and stuff.
I've been spending some time with my old friend, the 3DS, of late, and I think that I saw the 3D Land icon the other day and was very interested in replaying that game. It's been a while, but
I love
What
it.
is this stand, man?
oh well, the stand.
Lamacall.
You can't see the stand on camera by design, but it is a stand by Lamacall, and I actually stole this off of Jordan Parkhurst's desk because I wanted to display this cool 3DS that I have.
Jordan
is that
Parkhurst.
strictly like presentational value, or
Yeah, it's very nice.
Oh, I see.
you
That's
don't
wasn't
like you don't
for-
like play while using?
That stand is great for
I mean,
Switch.
it's really good for
Icarus.
Switch.
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
not so great for 3DS
Icarus.
because you couldn't play it.
because the Switch
What
stand
are we
is
talking about
obviously
right now?
useless.
Oh, I figured that we'd just take a few minutes just to check in with everybody, see how we're doing.
Oh, I see.
real,
Okay.
real lax, just lazy,
Yeah.
mosey on into town intro. I like it.
Look, I'm high as a kite, so
we
it's
go.
no big deal.
Not true,
guys,
It's not
On the
true.
Nintendo
let's talk
Wii.
about some news.
Okay.
Great.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
talk about
I
the
agree.
news. No, we last week we talked all about the Nintendo Direct. Obviously, we're a Nintendo show, so that makes sense.
Yep.
But there's one thing that we didn't get to cover. We're a couple weeks late on this news on the show, but you probably know about it out there. And that is that Capcom has revealed that Resident Evil remake, Resident Evil 0, and Resident Evil 4
Yes.
are coming to the Switch, and I would like to say that NVC takes sole responsibility
Yep.
for at least Resident Evil 4 to come into the Switch.
We've been yelling about this since the second we found out about what the Nintendo Switch was. We wanted Resident Evil 4 on the system. Cool. So
Some of us it took a few weeks to start yelling about it, but that was you day one. They were like, "Give me that Resident Evil 4." Yeah, here it is.
I'll
in
be some
action.
footage of the best video game ever made.
It's not, but
It's
it's
up- it's in the top
really
three.
good. I love this game. But RE0, I always feel like RE0 is the odd game because
not
it's
great.
Yeah, it's
So, Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil 4 specifically were part of the. Well, Resident Evil 4 was part of the Capcom 5.
Yeah.
If you think back to the GameCube era, this game was only supposed to be released for the GameCube, but then subsequently was released on every single platform ever made, now including Nintendo Switch. If you haven't played this game, you're in for a real treat. I will say that it is starting to show its age a little bit. I recently replayed this game when the HD version came out in 2016. But it is a fantastic game. Really fun, really spooky, really gross. A lot of gross stuff. Men's heads exploding and stuff.
I actually
Crazy.
replayed this game on my paternity leave 3 months ago on PS4, and it's fantastic. It's
You have a kid?
Yeah, I do. It's interesting because I think what people immediately get pushed back in this game is that it is a 3D action game, but you can't run and shoot at the same time.
Yeah.
It's sort of stop and pop.
It still
And once you-
retains a lot of the like survival horror roots of
Definitely.
the original Resident Evil games in that there's a lot of resource and item management.
Yep.
And it's not nearly as action oriented and like quick timey as 5 and 6.
you play.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean not recently
Not in a
over
while.
any
Yeah.
kind of paternity leave or a remake, but
You got a kid?
many ages ago. No, definitely not.
Congratulations. Congratulations! I didn't know.
It's my Switch. No. But yeah, there was a weird transitionary phase for them. So it seems like it's kind of Capcom being like, remember when we did Resident Evil good and also 2 is coming out and also 7 was good?
Well, it's like there are 2 Resident Evil games on Switch right now. They are, Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2. And there's a lot of cool stuff in there, and they share some of the DNA of 4, but they are very different games. Yeah. Resident Evil 4 is one of my favorite games of all time, but specifically, it's never really been on a handheld. The closest we've ever come is Capcom made a very sort of like truncated iOS version a couple years ago, which I still have the icon for, but doesn't load on modern iOS iterations effectively.
Oh, wow.
And so this is the first time that this game has ever been like on a dedicated portable system. And so that makes it awesome because I love this game. But the thing is, I don't know if this will be a port of the GameCube version. This was also ported to Wii where it had pointer controls. So there's a chance for that to happen. Or the version Zach mentioned, which was the HD remake, which isn't really like a complete total overhaul. They just cleaned it up a little bit.
Yeah, it looks nice.
But that's an easy drag and drop on a Switch as well, and I think it could totally run it.
Drag and drop is my favorite mobile game.
Super drag and drop.
This game, like when you play it now, you don't realize like all the things that it did in one package. It has this like mini overworld where you actually fortify yourself and you defend yourself. Remember, like you can hide in a building and the chainsaw guy comes after you, and then it has all these kind of like outdoors like woods elements, like giant creatures, and some kind of classic even like pursuit elements where you're waiting for an elevator and something's chasing you. And it's so freaking creepy that
there's that, and then there's
So
also
good.
like layers of mechanics built into this game that I encourage repeat play. And like for me specifically, you can upgrade your systems, you can upgrade your guns by selling things that you find in game.
What do you buy?
You visit a merchant.
Yeah,
it's a really smart way.
I can't believe we're diving this deep into Resident Evil 4, but I don't know why I'm telling you about the systems in this game. It's a 10-year-old game,
But it's really,
phenomenal.
really good.
Also, the Resident Evil remake is coming, which is
Also really good.
an incredible version of the original PlayStation Classic. Very scary, much more of a horror game than Resident Evil 4.
Yep.
But much more annoying to play for modern gamers, I think, because you
but this-
exit screens and you can't quite
Yeah, but
see
this remake
things.
has the 3D controls. It isn't necessarily like tank controlled,
Yeah.
so it gives you the option to play that.
No, but
and
this is
Resident Evil 0 is the one that has a train. So
Yeah,
that's about all you can say for that one.
Well, actually, I really like the second half of Resident Evil 0 because it gets to a mansion and it's like really fun and it feels very classic Resident Evil. I think it handles the character swapping better than some of the later ones does. Also, it has a basement full of disgusting white apes.
I haven't
I feel like-
played 0 since it first came out.
I feel like Train to Busan is a better Resident Evil 0 than Resident Evil 0.
So the train stuff is really only the first hour of Resident Evil 0.
It's like all I remember from it.
Yeah, there's a whole mansion game after that.
That's
so it really opens up. Why this is special, though, is because these are games to me that I think are sort of connected to the GameCube. Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil Remake, and Resident Evil 0 are games that I associate with Nintendo games on GameCube. And they sort of disappeared from Nintendo for a while. And now they're coming back home, and that's really cool to see.
Nice.
Speaking of new games, we are getting three new NES games coming through the Switch Online service. The original Metroid,
Yes.
thumbs up, thumbs
We
down,
like it.
thumbs
Yes.
up. Okay. The original Metroid is fine. I think the original Metroid is fine. Well, that's Twin B. Yeah, spoilers. That's a whole different game. Yeah.
Look at Samus, the little ship.
Yeah. So the other game coming is Twin B, which I actually don't know anything about.
I played a lot of this
Yeah.
game. This is really cool because it's effectively like a Gradius R-type style game where you juggle these bells and the more you shoot at them, the higher your power-ups get.
Yeah, they
So-
change color and that determines what power-ups you get.
So it's a
Konami
shmup with a weird juggling element.
classic Konami shooter series. Super NES Pop and Twin B much better, but
Sam
we'll take
was
it.
very excited about Twin B.
Twin
coming
B
to
is
the
good.
NES,
That's
so
awesome.
That's good.
Yeah.
Third game is Mighty Bomb Jack, which I remember, but I don't remember. I remember seeing it at least, but I don't remember really playing it as a kid. So
But this is based on the original Bomb Jack arcade machines, right? Like
of course.
where you fly around the little guy with a cape and
Yeah,
no?
yeah, yeah.
You guys remember Bomb Jack?
no. But obviously the
80s.
crown jewel here is the original Metroid, which I think is a little obtuse at this point. Like it's really hard to play the original Metroid when Super Metroid does everything so much better. And not only that, but I mean, this game got remade as Metroid Zero Mission, which is by far my favorite Metroid game.
But
Same.
But it's so fun to revisit it. And
I still
play
have a
it
lot
and
of
see
love
what-
in my heart for this game. I think it has a phenomenal soundtrack.
What a Metroid hater.
Wasn't it like a muscle memory thing too? You just kind of get back into it and it seeps you back into
Yeah, I think so. Like, and it's got a lot of the DNA of later Metroid games. It's got hidden missiles and energy tanks and stuff like that. It's got a really obtuse password system, which is kind of a pain in the ass. But with save states, I think that makes this game totally replayable. Cheat your way through it and see the end. Kill the mother brain. Defeat the world. Save the galaxy.
And also, this is a hot tip for those of you out there. Enter your name as Justin Bailey.
Yeah.
You should wear a swimsuit instead.
That's right. That's yeah.
And the Metroid is a girl. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Can't
on
crawl.
Nintendo Voice Chat. A little bit of Smash news this week, following last week's Direct. Sakurai took to Twitter to say that Super Smash Bros. Ultimate DLC lineup is now complete. This time, the selection was made entirely by Nintendo. I decide if we can create a fighter based on their selection, and then we come up with a plan. So it sounds to me like those 5 mystery guests coming in the DLC and beyond for Smash Brothers are already chosen. If that's the case, who do you guys want to see?
Well, first of all, he tweeted that because he didn't want to get months and months of put Waluigi in it, right?
Yeah.
Well, he specifically even followed it up with a tweet that said, "Please do not do exactly that."
Yeah.
And so he said, hey, Nintendo selected the characters. I tested whether they would make sense for this game. Shut up.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that
We're not
rules-
going to shut up, though. We're always going to
It probably
say
rules
what
out
we want.
third-party stuff, possibly. I mean, if it's
think so?
Nintendo
handpicked
selecting?
by Nintendo,
Maybe.
Yeah, I feel like it would be more of a promotion kind of opportunity for them to be like, here are our franchises and new games that are coming out.
Yeah.
Could be.
I think after Piranha Plant, like all
bets
bets
are
are off, basically. Like that's a character I never would have been like,
Okay,
oh yeah.
But DLC is also sold separately, and it's got to be attractive enough for somebody to plunk down that money, right?
That is true.
And so I could imagine them partnering. Like, I don't think that many, sorry Ubisoft, but not that many people would pay for Rayman, right?
Maybe
but people
not,
would
yeah.
pay for Banjo-Kazooie
Now you
or
spit on me.
sorry, or Goku from Dragon Ball or
That'd be
something,
cool.
right? Yeah.
Look at the DLC from the last game. We had stuff like Cloud and Ryu, and those were big sellers. So I think you're onto something there. That's actually a smart approach. I don't know if you could do that with like Boo.
Well,
Oh,
so
come
you weren't on the last episode, but we actually talked about how Nintendo seems to be leaning into a more generic character approach, right? Like Piranha Plant is not PD Piranha; that's just a Piranha Plant, and we've seen characters like in Mario Tennis Aces. I point at Tina; that's Tina's Game of the Year this year. But
Top 10.
Dry Bones, Paratroopa, right? Like these are just
Toad is
classes,
generic.
basically,
Yeah.
right? Debatable.
Captain Toad is not generic.
Captain Toad
is
is-
generic.
Debatable.
What about the Old Man Toad and the Blue Toad?
That's Old Man Toad.
Oh, Uncle Toad.
Uncle Toad?
But maybe there are multiple Uncle Toads.
What
Everybody
about
has more.
Fat Shy Guy specifically?
You can't say that. That's body
Can't
shaming.
body shame Shy Guy.
Why he is though?
It's not his problem that he's pleasantly plump.
You got to watch.
Pleasantly plump Shy Guy.
Now, let me let you guys in on a little secret here. Sometimes on
Big
NVC,
dry boned.
sometimes on NVC, Pear says, "Hey, you should put this in the run of show," and I do it because
Wait,
he's the general
Nobody
manager.
said what characters they
Time out.
wanted.
That's okay. Well, we got to move on. We're running out of time here. We ended up talking too much about the dry bones. Anyway, Pear says, "Put this in the show," and then I say, "Okay," and I assume that means that Pear's done the homework.
No.
But it does not mean that. So here's the update here. Grease gets a release date. December 13th. Nobody knows what that is. It's a Devolver game. It's a very pretty
All
art
right.
walk.
So I
an
asked you.
emotional-
I said, "Look at this game. This game looks really cool. Should we put that in the show? Do you have footage of it?"
It doesn't look like it. I would like for there to be footage,
Okay.
but it doesn't look like it. Made
So
it,
Grease, Devolver Digital, obviously, publisher.
if you're watching this post video release, maybe there is a B-roll. Who knows?
Just open a second tab and on YouTube type
Alright.
Grease.
Just
Just Google Grease GRIS trailer. They announced this game for,
and
Well,
then
Google how to pronounce it, and
then never
Google
come
YouTube
back.
gameplay.
and then Google Grease GREASE because Grease is the word.
huh?
Yeah.
Grease. No,
It's a hit musical.
That's right. Perhaps you've heard of
plenty
it.
of videos on it.
You guys are hilarious. Anyway, it's a Devolver Digital game that has really, really beautiful art style.
It
As
does.
you can
look
imagine.
It does.
And
look gorgeous,
we actually covered this before when it was Neri. It was a PC game, and obviously it got announced for the Switch. Comes out in December.
Yeah.
So
When
I
is
would
Neri coming to Switch?
Neri.
Neri.
I'm leaving. What is this show? No, it looks really, really good. It's made in Barcelona, and you know that's great because they say Barcelona. So it's actually called Grith.
This is like when someone does a book report on a book they didn't read.
Yes, it has 4 letters.
There's plenty of videos available online for Grizz, and it's made in Barcelona, and it's a great game. You should check it out.
Yeah,
It's pretty.
it looks
Minutes
awesome.
left
Yeah.
on the clock.
It looks really cool. It's a very clever platformer.
But obviously, the biggest Nintendo news this week. There has been some postings that Nintendo may be starting work on a new Legend of Zelda project.
What?
I know.
Oh my God, giant Nintendo company hires people.
I know. According to the Japanese jobs page on Nintendo.com out of Kyoto, they're looking for a 3D CG designer and level designer. They're looking for somebody with experience in action games and specifically dungeon, field, and enemy design.
Sweet.
And they're looking for somebody capable of working on in-game events. Of note to this story, before we jump into the conversation, Nintendo President Furukawa said last month that he wants to see more DLC from the company's existing major titles. So I open it up to the floor. Are we getting more Zelda DLC, or is this for a standalone Zelda project coming who knows when?
Whatever the
Is
next,
it a
that game.
mobile game?
or is it a mobile game? Yeah, hopefully they'll announce that at E3 instead of a Zelda
Yes.
game.
People love when they do that.
That would be really awesome. Did you see my Diablo case for the Nintendo Switch?
That's
Just
yeah,
random
nice.
segue.
Okay. No, so I first of all, of course they're already working on the next Zelda. There's just no way Aonuma went on to a different project. Like this is his baby. He's gonna work on the next Zelda game. Like
Yeah, they've been working on the new
yeah, and so when I saw this job posting news, I wasn't thinking, oh, they're starting a Zelda game. I was thinking this is obviously proves they're working on something. But I was also going like, oh no, they lost a level designer. Because like I mean, it sounds like maybe they're hiring for some replacements because this is not like they're staffing up. 1,000 people plus worked on this damn game, right?
Yeah.
Right.
This is just a tiny little 2 people is nothing for a Zelda game. As far as whether it's DLC, I mean. They definitely.
I feel like we're a little too far out from Breath of the Wild for further DLC. Like to me,
You think so?
I don't know. Like in an ideal world, this is development for whatever the sequel to Breath of the Wild would be. And if it were up to me, I want some sort of smaller, more self-contained version of Breath of the Wild, like similar to like, I guess analogous to what Majora's Mask was to Ocarina of Time. Like maybe developed in the same engine, maybe using some of the same resources and objects, but like a quicker turnaround, but maybe with a different angle. And of particular note to me, the idea that they're looking for somebody capable of working on in-game events, like, here we go. I've spent a lot of time playing Destiny. I know Tina spent a lot of time playing Destiny. The idea of public events, Destiny style in Zelda, like they just drop, some kind of crazy powerful monster in the middle of Hyrule and you get 5 of your best links to go after it and mash stuff up. I think that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Isn't
I
it
mean,
like-
it's something they've experimented with in Splatoon already, sort of being like, this
Yeah.
weekend is this thing, and you
Right.
can get this thing
Yep.
for doing it.
But doesn't that sound like a mobile game?
Kind of, but I also don't.
How dare you?
No, because it's. I mean, there's only one Link. We've had 4-player Zelda games, but
Yeah,
they were
what if this
never.
was like a
they were
modern
never
take on
like
4
these
Swords?
open online experiences. I feel like.
But you can wear different outfits.
This is very old
are your
Breath of the
own
Wild footage.
Yeah, I think we are. I don't think we're anywhere near close being too far out from gaining DLC from this game. This is one of the best selling games of the generation. This is one of the definitive Nintendo Switch system sellers.
You think that after the 2 that have already been released and the amount of time that's lapsed in between, that they would go back and
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the
DLC?
best selling games this holiday for Nintendo Switch.
Think of something like Undead Nightmare for Red Dead Redemption.
I
where.
can't, too spooky.
Huh?
I
but
can't,
but
too
where it essentially it applies this like new condition to the overworld that makes you explore everything again and changes everything. I could see something like that.
I mean,
know?
Mario
really
Kart
cool.
8 got DLC last year.
True.
You know, it's like
That's
a
true.
10-year-old game at this point.
They've
20,
insisted
30-year-old.
that they want to
It's
support
400 years
Breath of the
old.
Wild.
Say that again.
They've insisted that they want to support Breath of the Wild, and that's always received well because people who buy one game a year don't
Right.
want to see it abandoned so quickly.
I would love for them to drop in something that allows me to actually do something worthwhile with that motorcycle. That would be good.
So that's the thing. The motorcycle was cool for a couple of minutes, right? And if you're somebody who hadn't explored the entire world, I guess it has value. But to me, it didn't draw me back in because I had already explored so much of this world
Right.
and I'd done everything.
So wait, in-game events, racing motorcycles with a bunch of links.
that sounds great.
DLC.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think the in-game
I
events.
hadn't
Cracked it.
considered it. I
Different
hadn't
game.
considered it until we brought it up just now. But like a modern take on Four Swords Adventure in the Breath of the Wild engine sounds awesome to me.
Before Breath of the Wild launched, or even we found out about it, Anuma had hinted at effectively sort of testing out a multiplayer Zelda, or like conceptualizing like
Right.
what's it like when a bunch of people work together playing a Zelda game. And like we'd only really seen that with a top-down perspective. We haven't really seen that in a 3D space.
What was
So-
the? There was a recent multiplayer Zelda as well. The one for 3DS.
Triforce Heroes.
Triforce
Yeah.
Heroes. Yeah.
Which was
It was fun.
It was
Yeah.
it was actually a good time in multiplayer. and
No.
then just not.
Nope. I remember playing with you,
I
and it
agree.
was not
It was
a good
not a
time.
very
It was
time.
fun when we played together in the office. You and I played over Skype one night, like the 1970s, and that wasn't good.
now you
that
can
didn't
just
work
use
at
your
all.
Nintendo app on your phone.
That's true.
But it would be
Well,
cool
that way.
to solve, like, you know, obviously games like Destiny are very popular. Anthem is very, very popular in its pre-release phase. It'd be interesting for them to do something where you kind of work together and solve puzzles with 4 players,
Yeah,
and you can play with
was
some.
Four Swords Adventure. That's to a lesser extent
It'd be
Triforce
cool,
Heroes.
but I feel like that's also a really big risk. We'll see
Yeah.
how Fallout 76 does, because interest on that game is definitely more muted than for Fallout 4 and 3.
Right.
well, I don't
And
necessarily.
I don't know if they would risk that.
I don't necessarily need like a full blown like 100-player PvP sort of situation for Zelda, but like I like the idea that you're
You read
you're
that somewhere.
teaming up. What?
100-player PvP.
Yeah, I've read a few articles about 100-player PvP, but
You should have put it in quotes.
Yeah, but I love the idea of teaming up with 4 people and dropping into like bespoke Zelda environments and taking on challenges like that. I think
Well, that's
really
how like
cool.
in-game events in Destiny, where they're pretty micro-sized, so it's not like it
Yeah.
would be a full.
But like, can you
multiplayer game.
imagine? Can you imagine like a series of quests that you take on with a team, like a strike in Destiny, and then you go into a Zelda dungeon and you have 4 people working simultaneously to solve puzzles and take on enemies? Like that sounds awesome.
That'd
Yeah,
be a
do
cool.
those
That would
things.
be a cool DLC add-on to Breath of the Wild, because it would change the experience.
Right.
Like, I don't buy it that they'll. I think they really cherish that kind of like exploration, you know, kind of more slower paced single player experience too.
What if you could play as the heroes?
Okay.
Maybe.
You know,
Yeah.
like what if you could? What if I could be that Birdman?
Yeah, that
And
would
have
you
all
mean
kind
the-
of different
You
powers.
mean the new Super Smash Brothers DLC characters?
Oh, you think that's who it's gonna be? It's just
Crossover.
It's gonna be
Heroes go.
Rivali and Garuk,
Garuk.
Garuk and Garuk and Garuk.
How dare you?
Yeah.
So you really threw me for a curveball with that one.
I'm so good today.
It's okay. We also got some news about a little film that we haven't heard from for a long time now. You might remember that a while ago we'd heard that Illumination, the studios behind those adorable little minions, were working on a Mario movie, and but they've kind of gone radio silent until recently when Chris, you're gonna have to help me out with this. This looks like a very European name. Do you know how to pronounce this?
Meledandri?
Thank you. He did an interview with Variety in which he
Probably
said,
American.
"Right, I like that this was not done. I like that this was not done well for the first time. I think it's more exciting or more worthy than simply making another version of a film that was done incredibly well to begin with." So he's obviously talking about the early '90s classic Super Mario Brothers and how that film's poor performance and reception makes making this film easier, which I think is interesting.
Obviously, because there's only up to go from there.
Right.
Can't really go worse. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I've recently rewatched
you enjoy
that
it?
movie, and it's like
Such a wreck.
it falls into that sort of so bad that it's good territory.
Yeah, it's pretty goofy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
actually
If you take it as like a comedy spoof of
I agree.
the franchise,
It's
maybe.
also kind of fun to look at from like a production perspective, because it's got a lot of really interesting ideas in the sort of props and set departments. Like the husband and wife duo that were directing it, writing it for the first time ever doing anything, were like heavily inspired by Blade Runner. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the background that you're like, okay, I see what you were trying for. This is a big wet mess, but I like what you're trying to do here. Nice work. This obviously will be animated, so it's a totally different thing. We've been hearing about this movie since the Sony hack, which
email
is
leaks.
the email leaks way back in the day, where they were effectively working.
That was really vague because that was like Sony was potentially in talks with Nintendo.
Yes.
So it wasn't really anything that would come to fruition. And even actually when they had the conversation with Illumination, they mentioned that if they couldn't come up with a good idea together in collaboration, they would just ditch the project.
Right.
So I guess because we're still talking about it, they came up with a good idea.
Well, yeah, I
It
think
remains to be seen. I mean, we've not really seen anything
Yeah, but if they're
worthwhile from any
promoting
sort of
it-
Sony Nintendo collaboration. So
Oh no, that's dead. But Illumination, yeah.
the big things holding this back are that most of these characters just make weird noises.
Yeah.
You know, like, but then again, so do the minions.
I think that's the key.
Yeah.
Like, how can you do Mario the character justice without him having talking constantly and annoying us, right?
Well, don't you think it's going to be some sort of like, look at the way that they position the minions alongside of another character, right? Like, it's going to be Mario
Yes.
and Luigi, but then also here's his friend Chris.
Like, what if Peach
From the
just-
real world, you know what I mean? Like,
What if Peach is like the normal person in that universe and she talks and does all this stuff, and
That would be
Mario
good.
is just like, eh.
I just
know,
hope it's
does
not
all
That
some
would
that
be
like
stuff.
appropriate.
I hope it's not some like nonsense Alvin and the Chipmunks fish out of water thing.
Yeah.
Where he's CG and he's like friends with a man who's real. And, like, he goes through a toilet.
What if
he
it's-
comes out and like
I
He's
mean,
in
it could
Italy.
be-
He's just a plumber.
Yeah.
no,
I don't want any of
you
that.
guys are burying the lead. I mean, he could just be in New Donk City. Like,
Yeah.
it could just be a New Donk City movie where Mario is just this little gremlin.
And New York
then-
City's like real life.
Everyone else is like a normal human being wearing a fedora.
They were not normal human beings.
You
in
used
that
to live
level-
in New
that
Donk
level,
City.
though.
Would you like this?
Yeah, it's very accurate,
Yeah.
actually. What if it's just all in Simlish, in like a Nintendo Simlish, and then there's just subtitles the whole movie?
It seems like a really
Well, he says
terrible
stuff,
idea.
though. He
Good way
says
for
stuff.
children to learn to read.
He says stuff like, "Oh no." Whatever they do, though, they have to
Lets
have
it
this
go.
one sequence where everything goes 2D, and you see like he jumps on Goombas and stuff, like in Odyssey. It'd be cool.
Yeah.
If like it was a normal movie and suddenly.
What if it's just like 2 hours of him collecting like stars and moons in different levels?
Yahoo! I got.
And you're like, what am I watching? Like,
It's just that's just like,
Like the
watching
Doom
somebody
movie?
play
Yeah.
Odyssey on Twitch.
it's just like a $200 million let's play.
Well, it's like that original Doom movie where you're just going in first person perspective and
Yeah,
it's like watching
yeah.
a
There
video
was
game.
the
It's very
one good
strange.
thing about the Doom movie.
That it was in first person?
That one first
was only
person
one
sequence.
scene.
That was only one
That's
scene.
the
That was the
worst part
worst
of that
part.
movie.
Yeah.
That was the only good scene in that movie. That movie
That's
was
the
so bad.
so bad it's good for you thing.
Yes.
They're making another one of those too with
Yeah.
The Rock.
Another Doom movie?
Yeah.
yeah, it's called Doom 2.
Wow. Final
so
Doom.
another thing that Chris, oh God, Meladondri.
Just say
Good job. You
bad.
can learn names. That's so great. Zachary Ryan.
He says that he's working closely with Shigeru Miyamoto, which he says is the issue from the last film. So I do think it's interesting that Miyamoto does have a lot of input in this,
Yeah.
and I think that will probably help to keep this on track. But also, Miyamoto has gone on the record multiple times saying that stories don't really have a place in video games. So I wonder how that philosophy transfers to.
I don't know if he still
films, right?
believes that.
Interestingly
know.
enough, in January when we first heard about this, I think it was like buried in a press release or something. Miyamoto said, when I talked with Chris, he said he had read a lot of interviews with me and felt we had a similar approach to creation. And then later he said, Chris is extremely cost conscious and time conscious in his quest to make successful movies, which doesn't really sound like the most like creative foot to go off on.
Thank you for
It's very
saving
like
money.
this is he's a really good businessman.
If you're listening to the podcast, Tina pulled both of those quotes like straight out of the head, right out of her head. Just
Yeah,
knew them
I
right off the top
definitely
of her
do
head.
not
Yeah.
write these down.
really
in
good
advance
memory,
of
She didn't look them up on her phone for sure.
But one thing, if you go back to some of the bigger Nintendo games, the cutscenes are actually really good. Like
Yep.
watch Pikmin, for example.
Yeah.
Pikmin, like they communicate a lot with no language. It's really charming.
Metroid Prime.
Yeah.
And to piggyback on that, and we mentioned this the last time this topic came up, but go on YouTube and look up the Pikmin short films
Yep.
that Miyamoto wrote and directed, and they're animated Pikmin movies.
about those guys.
Yeah, they're really cute. They used to be available only through like My Nintendo, I think, and now you can just watch them online. So, because
I mean, my preference in line with that would have been Pixar because they do such a good job, especially in their shorts. They do such a good job about giving characters that don't really have a voice a lot of personality.
Right, right.
So they could have made it cute.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. Like, I would love to see a 7-minute Super Mario short film and then go, oh man, that would make a great feature film. Right now, we're just going from nothing to
Yeah,
90
we're going in
We'll
blind.
see. There'll be a
essentially.
framing device, but the studio show with the minions. I mean, those characters are funny. Kids really love them. Yeah,
I
not
hate
you. You mean a little bit
I hate
too.
them
They like
so much.
cute little banana people.
I loathe
And
them.
they don't
this is
say
I think
real stuff either.
I don't like them either. Thank you.
Yeah.
Interesting timing though. That Illumination right now is promoting their the secret pet life.
Pets, yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Secret Life of Pets.
Pets 2 and and Grinch as well.
We're getting a secret message. Wall-E didn't need words.
Yes,
Dan.
that's true.
Good point. But Wall-E had a whole third act where there was like a bunch of humans that did a lot of
hundreds of
Well,
exposition.
he communicated with
Yeah.
his name, kind of like in being John Malkovich.
Yeah.
Or like,
that's what I'm talking
Or
about.
like what Pokemon
need
do.
I was gonna say, so you're saying a Pokemon movie would work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They made 100 of those.
Well, remember when Pikachu spoke in the Pokemon movie and everyone freaked out?
Dan, I need my time back
Detective
here.
Pikachu?
That's weird.
Super Mario Brothers is in priority development at Illumination and could be in theaters as early as 2022.
22?
Yeah,
I'll be
so
dead by then.
Please don't.
Hopefully not.
Who's going to play all the indies?
my last note here on my script says, "Hey, is this movie gonna be good or not?"
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tina.
hope
I think
so.
it might be cut.
Huh?
I'm going to go really optimistic and say it's going to be cut.
Cut?
Okay.
like there just won't be a film
yeah.
at all.
Yeah, Miyamoto and, what's his name?
Chris Milladonder.
There you go. They're going to decide that it wasn't. They're going to decide it wasn't cost effective and time effective.
Wow, you're such a positive ray
I'm
of
a ray of
sunshine.
sunshine.
again.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not cost effective. It's been in development for 38 years.
I think it'll be a fun kids movie. And I think you'll be upset at something. Like the
Not
fact
me.
that there's
care.
a Mr. Goomba and he's not a generic Goomba.
I don't see that there's any way around the
He
idea
talks
that,
like this.
that Mario lives in the Mushroom Kingdom. That's where Mario and his pals live. And somebody from the outside, like somebody that kids can see themselves in,
He comes out of a video game machine.
Exactly. Or vice versa. Kid gets sucked
Wreck-It
into the
Ralph.
Mushroom
Or
Kingdom.
maybe they'll take it like origin story and we just see how Mario became the plumber that he is.
God.
I love
They've
that.
disavowed that. That's not canon anymore. He's not a mushroom. He's not a plumber.
Did you, by
But
the
also
way,
not
like,
a mushroom.
not to bring down the mood, but you saw Mario Segale died, the person that Mario
Oh, that's
was
correct.
named after.
Yes, I
yeah,
did see
so
that,
that
yeah.
was that unfortunately happened.
I love.
weekend
You can read that story in the book Game Over. It's
Yep.
really fascinating about how they're setting up the Donkey Kong original arcade cabinets. And he came in and he was like, "Where's the rent?" And they're like, "Look at that guy with a mustache named Mario, huh?
Yeah,
That's cute."
He was the landlord.
Yep.
Yep. There we go.
So, last week's show was action-packed. We talked a lot about Smash. Perhaps you guys know it. But we didn't have all the time in the world, and we didn't get to Yoshi. So I did want to talk a little bit about Yoshi. Yoshi's Crafted
The
World.
Yosh?
Excuse me. Yeah, our number one dude, the Yosh.
The Yosh.
Who will be making his debut
The
on
Yosh.
Nintendo Switch.
Sorry,
soon.
who was he? Was he the Gooch?
No, the Gooch was Mario.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I believe your name was Lolo.
TJ? Oh, I was Lolo.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just checking.
Lolo.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
boy in the gooch.
Sorry, if you don't know what we're talking about, neither do we. So let's go ahead and take a look at this Yoshi's Crafted World footage. We did see a Treehouse presentation. They played for about 25, 30 minutes.
Yep.
And in it, we got to see two-player mode and a couple of stages, which I think this game looks super fun. I'm a big fan of Yoshi games, and I particularly like the last few. I think they're trending up, as we like to say. This one looks awesome. Like, I think this has a really unique concept in the way that you sort of attack both sides of this level.
Look at all those eggs.
But yeah, I mean, you get a whole bunch of eggs. But in the two-player mode, there's some added mechanics here that they showed off, like the ability to carry your partner through a level and then jump off of one another. So there's secret areas.
You have more power if you're taking somebody piggyback.
that are only accessible
Yeah, your
through
ground pound is more.
Yeah.
It has like a shockwave.
double pound.
But the levels that they showed off were Poochie's Sweet Run, which is what we're looking at right now.
Yep.
This is sort of like a Candyland themed level. I just love Poochie so much.
Poochie's awesome.
I just love his big dopey face and how he always looks like he's having a great time hanging out with that lizard man.
He is having a great.
Is that does that game look a little blurry to you? Because it looks a little blurry to me, and I know some of that is they have the
talking
depth
about,
of
like,
field,
foreground, middle ground,
Yeah, they have the
background?
depth of field, but like overall, I was looking at like Little Big Planet, a game that is stylistically really similar in some of the levels, and like this game looks a little blurry. I don't know if that's the
Actually,
compression.
Little Big Planet is closer in artistic design to
here we go.
Yoshi's Woolly World.
No, wait when you see some of the arts and crafts levels, not the Candyland stuff.
Maybe.
It
I don't
looks
know.
a lot like it.
Well, the next one is darker and grittier than
Right.
the level they showed.
Also,
He gets a gun.
yeah. Yoshi's
There's a little
Shy
guy
Guy has ninja stars.
He's got a knife
dark.
too.
Knife,
Yeah.
little knife.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Aluminum foil.
They also showed off a level called Deceptive Doors, which was more of a like samurai ninja themed level.
That's the
sort of.
one Shy Guy
Yeah.
has a little knife.
And he
With the
did
ninja
he did have the little knife that I thought was like a little scary.
It was actually kind of adorable.
It was.
Because it's a tiny.
because it doesn't hurt
It's
anybody.
tiny, and he just
Yeah.
goes and you just swallow him, and it's
It's
done.
just
It's fine.
ba-dong.
It's no problem.
But do you think when Yoshi eats an enemy with a knife, I mean, how does that work?
It goes
fell.
down kind of
Blood.
hard.
No,
What?
it fell.
It's like
Blood.
when you swallow a pill, and it's just like
Oh, I
doesn't really
think.
go down.
Oh, I
very
think
nicely.
blood.
Nope.
So I did like that like a lot of the background stuff is interactive.
Yeah, that's cool.
A lot of the ways that you transform the levels. So here we are riding Poochie, and I love him so much.
He's super cute.
He's such
and
a
then
good
there's
boy.
Poochie Pup.
This makes me want to replay Woolly World because on the 3DS, Poochie was heavily featured in that game. But
I really like
Are you-
Woolly World.
yeah, me too.
Yeah, it was good.
And
However you say that name.
Woolly World.
Woolly World.
So
There's a party
I
at the
mentioned
end
that
of the
you can
level?
play. I mentioned that you can play through the levels backwards and forwards. So once you finish a level one direction, you get to swap and go back through, and it's really interesting the way that you see the back side of the level. And like in this level, there's these shy guys that are pushing those blocks down on top of you. But when you play it the opposite direction, you attack those shy guys first. You don't have to dodge their or watch for their timing. You can see like you're just coming through on the backside here, and you see other stuff in the background that was in the foreground in the last level. And I think that's really interesting because there's so many items that are hidden all over these levels that you miss something going one direction, but you see it in the other direction.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's like the Labo game. They like again, like the other stage shows a little bit more of the mechanics of the levels, little cardboard cutout elevators and things like that. It's kind of cool to see the mechanisms from the other side too.
It's almost like
Just
in
very
an open
cute.
world game when you look out into the distance, you're like, I'm gonna go there at one
Yep.
point, and you can
Yeah.
kind of do that here.
And then you just flip
I
it.
also think it's really funny, like in this level in particular, you can see all these labels and stuff on the snack items, and then when you go back through on the the back side of the level, you can see them more clearly, or you see ones that you missed before. So there's like all these like fake product placement. I think that's really cute.
By the way, that's Yoshi's Island right now, right there. We needed the FX chip to make those things fall forward. Remember that?
Right.
Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a total homage there.
Brian doesn't remember that because he doesn't like that.
Oh, that's
game,
right.
but,
Yeah, he hates it.
I like it. I just don't think it's like one of the greats.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So also, I thought of particular interest in this playthrough. They mentioned multiple times how the challenge comes through completionist runs, which this is something that I think we see a lot in Kirby and Yoshi games in particular, and I really love. Like Robobot was a really good proponent of this style of level design, and Woolly World too in some of the later levels. But like, if you wanted to collect everything, if you wanted 100% levels, there's some pretty challenging stuff that you needed to do in order to like access places or dodge enemies or things like that.
Yeah, I think that's how some of the best Nintendo games scale. You can play through as a baby, if you're a little baby, or you can go back and 100% like a big burly man with a good mustooch.
Okay,
Yeah, that's how I like to play these games.
there's that.
Yeah,
No,
it's
these
like a combination of the collectibles, and then also there's a bunch of timed puzzles that I think some of them you can only play through once. And you have to play through the entire stage again to redo if you don't
We
get it
talked
the first
about
time.
like 3D World briefly before, but like that's one of those games where you can just pretty much mainline through the game fairly easily. And if you want to go back and collect everything, it's legitimately difficult. And then there's all that post game stuff where there's like some of the
Wait,
hardest
wait.
levels that Nintendo's ever made.
Poochie Pup, his butt is hanging out of that cupcake.
Yeah, I do. I think it's really cute that you
It's
collect those
super
little
cute.
Poochie boys.
Just wiggling.
I also like the cardboard macaroons.
Specifically, I mean, Nintendo's obviously been doing this sort of like hidden challenge design since Super Mario World, right? Or even before that. But specifically, I feel like Yoshi and Kirby franchises have leaned into that more and more because these games at a glance are well, not even at a glance, like playing through them, they're so easy.
They're for
like you can
babies.
just, they are for babies. Like Kirby earlier this year was a perfect example of this where like, that's a baby game for babies.
Wow.
But it's true. But some of the later stuff and some of the completionist stuff, like you really had to get your timing down. Like you really had to have the right combination of Kirby weapons or abilities, So like I think it's a really good way to diversify the way that you're making these stages and allow kind of in the same way that like a Pixar movie appeals to kids and adults.
I was gonna say that
yeah.
it's like the Shrek of video games where there's these like hidden
Topical.
jokes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
topical.
exactly.
Yeah, nicely done.
I like all the tape. This looks cute.
Yeah, I'm
wanna
really
play it.
excited.
It's
for
really
this.
cute.
I'm a little bummed it doesn't run better, but this is also the two-player
know?
mode. It chugs. Like
haven't
you can
played
see
it?
it in this presentation.
Seeing the
know.
levels, I
This
understand.
is an alpha version. This might even be beta. You're not
It's
sure.
done. They finished it like 9 years ago.
Seeing the levels, I have a deeper understanding of why the Shy Guys are so large.
Yeah,
Because
there's
they're
just candy everywhere.
They're just eating everything. They're just
Yeah.
a gooses galopin all
So
over the place.
here's the level that I think
Augustus
looks a lot.
Galopin.
This stage looks a lot cooler. This is the Ninja World thing.
Yeah.
And I love how they did the bamboo forest with with green straws in the background. It's
Yeah,
just really
all
creative.
clever.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
all like
Yeah.
arts and crafts, which I think is very smart. But
There's also this moment where you remove cover at one point, and a shy guy comes out normally to hide behind that cover, and then he looks around because he's really confused. 'Cause you removed the cover. It's
They'll
really
also
cute.
they announced they're selling Labo kits based on these entire stages. They're $2,000 each.
you had me going there.
Now,
for a
kids,
second.
don't get mad. Uncle Brian made a joke.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Do we
Do you
have
think there will be Labo to go with this?
I hope so. There's so much like clever design in this game that would be awesome to create something like that.
There, that guy
right,
has
we'll
a
see.
little knife. Look at that.
Yeah, it has this little shiv.
Oh, he doesn't eat the. He doesn't eat the knife.
It's a shiv guy.
yeah,
Shiv guy.
shiv
that's
guy.
good.
That's good.
Oh man.
Oh yeah. Also, we should point out the ricocheting eggs give eggs different abilities, which I think is kind of cool. You can bounce eggs off of stuff, and then they'll start on fire or something. I don't know.
Yep.
But sounds like looks like a good old time. I'm excited to play it. Do we have a release date? Do you know? I feel like that's something I probably should have looked up before I
available
got on the
right
show.
now.
This is one of those things
Whoa.
that I didn't add for you to the Runner Show.
Yeah, that's right.
Should have added that.
Oh well, next time you slack me like 15 things to put into the Runner Show on the day of the show, just keep that in
I
mind.
figured you had no idea
Send
we were
over
shooting
release dates,
NVC,
too.
so you needed help.
No. Paris seems to think that this show always comes together in the 11th hour, which is sometimes true, but that's not.
Zach did a nice job planning.
Hey,
Yeah.
thanks, Per.
No, you're welcome.
And now let's talk about what we're playing this week because we're not playing Yoshi's Crafted World yet.
Oh, I wish.
But let's talk about a little bit of the games that we're playing on our Nintendo
Yeah.
Switches. Go ahead, Per. Hit
is
us
it
up.
is it a little game we play? No.
Grease.
No, not yet.
No, I have not played
Don't
Grease.
bring that up again.
Man, look up the trailer. Good. No, I've been playing.
Look at that trailer because I didn't have a chance to before I came
No,
to the show.
I liked it.
Welcome to IGN. Review your own games. We're tired.
You will anyway. So
Audience, if you would like to vote any member off this panel right now.
This is the most quarter four ass show I've ever seen of NVC. Go ahead.
I don't know what that means, but I totally agree. I'm playing 7 Billion Humans right now. It just came out from the makers of World of Goo, if you know them, Tomorrow Corp. Really talented indie dev with a very...
Put World of Good.
Yeah, it's World of Good.
similar.
World of Goop.
I immediately knew the team responsible for this game because they have a very iconic
Yeah, they
art
have a
style.
very
Just from the...
style, yeah.
I mean,
Funny,
from the-
tired-eyed people.
Who makes a game called 7 Billion Humans too? So this is a sequel, where semi-sequel to kind of like all of their games, and it's actually a game that teaches you programming. It's very, very clever. It's about basically machines, robots are taking over, and they're putting humans to work, which usually results in the death of said humans. They are very dispassionate when it comes to treating lives fairly. And so what you have to do, you have these challenges where you can with the touchscreen or with the Joy-Con drag simple commands into a command list and make the humans do stuff. For example, step down 1 square. That can be a command. Then you can do a little if-then statement. I'm already losing you, I can tell.
Oh, yeah. My eyes
If-then is
are already
basic
glazing
programming.
over.
And so it is very, very basic programming. You're trying to solve these puzzles. There are like more than 60 of these in order to do things like pick up this then go over here and fall in hole and be dead. Like that kind of stuff. And it has this really wicked sense of humor. So as a dad, I was very pleased to see my son pick up on it and do these challenges where I walked in 30 minutes later, I had completely lost the thread and could not figure out how to complete the challenge.
Oh, wow.
Because they build on each other, and my little 12-year-old was doing it.
So it's sort of like a language.
if you have kids, real kids, not little baby screamy ones,
She plays
this is
Yoshi.
really cool. It actually does teach them coding.
That's awesome.
That's really neat.
Yep.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
How are the controls? Is it like, because I know they experimented with pointer controls.
Really
for-
good. It works. This
World
one.
of
Yeah.
Good.
World of Good didn't feel right.
World of
Too much. World of Good had too much latency. I felt like this one very snappy. But you kind of want to play this in handheld mode with the touchscreen. Yeah.
Cool.
Works great.
Yes.
I'm playing a game that is the opposite of what you just said.
good?
No, it is a phenomenal game, but it is not anywhere near building engineering if-then statements. That's Diablo 3.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah, I'm playing that too.
oh
Same
boy.
here.
This has really taken over my life, just like it did the first time I played Diablo 3.
Yep.
And just like it did the second time I played Diablo 3. And I can't stress enough how much replayability and how much engagement is increased just by having it portable. Like, it's nuts. Like, I know everybody's conversation about the Switch is like, well, it's just the same games, but portable. But like, Diablo 3 specifically, I feel like is tailored for this exact experience. And I'm having just a blast working my way through it.
I've been like looking for a game like this on Switch for a while and playing games that are similar but not as good. Stuff like Nine Parchments, which I brought up on the show before, which I really like. This is the king, right? Like this is one of the greatest games ever made. It's one of the best-selling PC games ever made. This is a perfect match for Switch, as Zach alluded to, and this is probably a good time to say that we are doing a bunch of really cool sort of like high-end video stuff around this here at IGN, including a 2-episode mini run of Link Together.
Oh, you brought it back,
which we are playing.
So wait a second though, is you like what's on the left Joy-Con, what's on the right Joy-Con?
In typical Link Together fashion, like one of us is doing everything and the other one's just kind of moving. So obviously it's different than playing something like Breath of the Wild together because there's no accidentally bombing yourself into a pit because you can't really die like that in this game. But still, hilarity does ensue. So please watch that when those episodes launch.
This really, I mean, this game kind of whets my appetite to see more from Blizzard on this machine. You know, obviously we talked about Overwatch in the past and Hearthstone, but I would love for them, like, you know, when they're redoing Warcraft 3, which they just announced, for them to figure out how to get this to run on the Switch would be really, really nice. Maybe we get Diablo Immortal, a touchscreen game that was also announced that people weren't so happy about.
I did want to point out in our show notes, it says Diablo 3, and then in parentheses it says, from the makers of Diablo Immortal, lol. Is that you?
Yeah, that was me.
You troll.
Yeah.
I will say that, like, it's
God damn it.
It's awesome to see yet again another big AAA third party take one of their best games and put it here. I'm still sort of like let down with EA's approach to this platform of the sort of like, we'll give you this game that, you know, it isn't necessarily a good fit for the platform, and then it doesn't sell tremendously, and they go like, oh, maybe not the Switch isn't right for us. But Diablo 3, I was looking at the eShop charts just today. It's the best selling downloadable game on Switch right now.
Thank goodness.
Didn't we play this at Gamescom and hate it at the time?
No, we played it and we were impressed that at level, they had a level 70 demo
threw us at level
that it
70.
actually worked.
That's what it
it
was.
ran nicely.
I don't think we
I think we were
hated the
just
game.
dropped
I think
into
we
it.
hated the demo
Yeah.
because it was like the three of us.
Yeah.
Super late game without any like context.
No context, no
yeah,
building,
and it's just like
I guess like
all of that progress.
it's a game that builds.
Yeah.
It's a game that builds upon itself in the way that like your skills change over time or the way you use those skills. You know,
Yeah.
The
And so
powers
it's-
are earned. You feel great when you unlock all
Yeah,
that.
I
And so
feel like
just
we were
dropping
just
you in
demolishing
after a
things.
5-year gap of like
Fair.
here's super late game content was a little confusing.
I'll say because we haven't really done this, but for those of you who don't know what Diablo 3 is, it's effectively a top-down action RPG where you traverse environments and level up your character, and you pick a different character class, and each one plays differently and has their own traits. And you pick up items and weapons that sort of build upon your armor and your helmet and your swords, all this cool stuff. It's got
a loot grind.
Yeah, and it's incredibly deep.
World
it's
of
really
Warcraft
fun.
with better loot.
But it's also got this sort of like kind of mindless casual approach to it too, where you can sort of play on easy and just like kill a bunch of zombie dudes.
I've been.
and
Go ahead.
No, it's if you see it and you think it's more of kind of like a game that plays itself, the actions are mapped to the button. So you're hitting stuff with your sword if you're barbarian, for example, on axe, and you can fire projectiles. But you also unlock these powers where you then hit a button to unleash them, and like stuff starts to happen on its own. So it's kind of like in between a game like a Legend of Zelda where you have direct contact and fight the enemies, and something that is a little bit more like an RPG, like a FF12 or something.
Totally. And yeah, and if you play as sort of like one of the more sort of confrontational classes, they'll be head to head, you know, hitting people with melee attacks more often. I like to play as like a wizard, magician, and sort of hang back, do spells.
Yo,
and they all have
Same.
and they all have like little meters. So like
Doesn't get that reference.
what, the gauntlet?
No.
Oh, what? Oh,
I was making a Harry
Destiny?
Potter.
No, it's Harry Potter.
Harry Potter? Yeah.
Your favorite series.
If they made like
He
a
hasn't
Harry
watched a
Potter
single
Destiny
movie.
game, that'd be like the
Read a
perfect
single
combination of things to slam dunk in the garbage can.
He's
No,
gonna
so
vote it off.
yeah. So the what's really cool about it is you're basically kind of very quickly micromanaging meters of like a couple of different powers that you can use and cycle through, and you'll kill one, and then it'll charge back up while you use the other and use some melee attacks. And there's a local multiplayer which works really well on Switch.
Are you going to play it, Tino?
I mean, everyone's probably already so far ahead of me. What level are you guys
well,
at?
You can find new friends.
Yeah,
who
play by
don't-
yourself. The ultimate
You don't want to
friend.
be my friend anymore?
We'll make it a new baby character and play with you.
True story. Tina gave me her friend code like 2 months ago, and I still haven't added
I know
her,
you
so-
didn't even add me. It
I
was
don't
during
think
Mario It was during my Mario Tennis heyday, and you just left
Game of
me
the
there
year.
abandoned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll fix
That's why I
that.
don't play it anymore.
So are you gonna go all the way to 70? You
Why
wanna
not?
Keep playing it. Yeah.
Why not?
It's gonna
I
take
so
forever.
I've two.
There's other games out.
We have Diablo on 2 Switches in my household, and the other 2 Switches and the people attached to them are very mad. So I think I have to buy 2 more.
Oh boy,
And then
that's great. Just for all your extra Joy-Con.
Well, there's
So
a
that's
there's a
great.
Diablo 3 bundle, Switch bundle.
Yeah,
so.
that's much cheaper than buying just the game. Thank you.
Speaking of which, I am actually giving one of those away very soon. So follow me on Twitter to
Maybe
find out
Pear
how.
gets it.
Pretty good. Oh yeah.
Not for you.
If
might
Schnare
be.
Might
Piter
be.
were to win it,
Snare Piter.
Pear Cider.
Yeah, that's what I want to
Scare
send a free
Spider.
Switch to the guy that bought every Joy-Con. That's a good look.
Well, it means I have more Joy-Con.
We got to talk about these other 2 games before we move on.
Yeah.
So talk to me about Gal Metal.
Gal Metal is a really weird game from DMM Games. It's published here by Marvelous/Exceed.
What about Guy
and
Metal?
It's a rhythm game, kind of like Taiko Drum Master, which also came out, by the way. If you want a good drum game, that's out there. I haven't played the final version, but it looks really, really cool. I played the demo. But this is basically a simple drum rhythm game with Japanese anime metal girls. So like like the baby metal and stuff,
yeah.
but they play like weird metal version of like Antonin Dvorak music, and it's very
This is nuts.
It's very charming. You can play it with a Joy-Con detached, where on the left hand you have your kick drum, on the right you have the snare, and if you hit both you have the crash. What's different about this isn't like Guitar Hero where you have to follow kind of like the road and hit the buttons. You actually have to freestyle it, so you have to stay within the rhythm, and it grades you on your rhythm, but you can actually be creative. And
They have rolling keyboards and drum machines in this game. That's weird.
yeah, it's
And you play for audiences of like screaming squids.
and it has like a cute anime nonsense story with aliens and stuff, but it's very charming. Like really unlike anything if Taiko Drum Master didn't exist, which in the end I do think it's a better game, judging from the demo, with a little bit more control and more fun. And this is single player only. But what I played so far is really, really charming, really cool.
So all in all, it's been a fantastic week for highly Japanese drum-themed video games.
If you
on
want
Nintendo
something
Switch.
super Japanese, this is it.
It's
Does it
one of
teach
the
you
2
basic
that
drumming?
launched.
Does it teach you basic drumming?
Well,
You got programming, you got drumming.
kind of,
It might teach
Yeah.
you basic rhythm, but I
yeah,
don't know
it
that
teaches
teach
you
basic
rhythm
drumming.
and it grades you on it. But it's again, it's very simple, right? It's 3 drum sounds. There's no it's not like Rock Band or Guitar Hero.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody tell me about Passepartout.
I wish I knew how to say this game. 'Cause I really
Passepartout.
like it.
Passepartout, that's French.
Okay, so Passepartout is this wonderful Passepartout.
The T is silent.
Is it? So how do you say it? There's like a bunch of T's.
Passepartout.
The
That's
last-
that was you said one of the
Passepartout.
T's.
Yeah, well,
Last 2 is
not all T's are
Passepartout.
Every time you say it, it's a different T.
Okay,
So you-
Pear, what's the name of this game?
Passepartout. The
Passepartout.
Starving Artist.
Passepartout: The Starving Artist is an indie game that just launched on Switch. It used to be on Steam, it still is, and it's really cute because it's about a guy who paints paintings and then sells them. And using the touchscreen on Switch, you are able to basically grab a canvas out of your garage, paint on it, and then put it out. And then people who live in this weird little French town walk up and down the street and buy paintings off of you. And then you spend that money on bread and wine.
What?
Yeah, it's real.
No
And-
cheese?
It's super French then.
Yeah, and so if you really phone it in on one of the paintings you do, they'll be like, "This is lazy and garbage, and I don't want it." But if you really try hard and you give it a good title, they'll give you money for it, and then you can go like, "That's not enough money. I want more money than that." So there's like a haggling element to it, and the more paintings you sell, the better your character sort of like levels up, and then it moves up in the art world.
You're going
I want to be a lazy
It's
French
really-
artist who gets wine.
It's incredibly charming, and the art direction is really sweet. It's like almost claymation-y. I wish we had some footage, but it's one of like my favorite indie games in a while.
If only I could find it on the eShop,
Guys.
because there are like 300 new games out.
Video
again.
games, huh?
They're really great. This is a good
Wacky.
week for weird ass stuff.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Grip.
Well,
Riz?
Pear, you mentioned it earlier, but now it's time to play our favorite game.
It's not a game.
Question block. Actually, Jan Cecilia from the old Nintendo Voice Chat podcast forums, he says question block is a game. We are the ones playing it, and it consists of making up the best questions. Whoever gets their questions on the show wins.
Jan is
Having it
correct.
read.
But that wasn't a question.
No, I know, but he was
Well,
just
that
saying
Whoever
that it
gets
is
their
a game.
questions on the show wins.
Wait, no, but Jan didn't ask a question and won.
No, he's not participating in the game this week. He's just pointing out that it is in fact.
But
a
you
game.
Okay, so this was like a-
read Jan's question in the question block, so that
Yeah,
they
it's
won.
under question block. It's a bullet point.
Just a disclaimer.
What else we got?
So
Cheating.
The first actual question, Jason
Jan.
Mario asks, don't you hate pants?
Am I Daffy the Duck?
No, I mean, I don't think he's talking about like Winnie the Pooh in it, but I
Aw.
mean, like just pants in general.
Just in general,
Yeah,
I kind of like pants.
I don't mind pants.
I enjoy them.
Yeah.
I enjoy them during the day, not at night. Then I put
No,
sweatpants
I don't wear
on or
pants at
Good
night
point.
either.
If I wish I was one of those people that looked like put together enough to be athleisure and could
Yeah.
wear sweatpants all the time.
I've seen you wear like fitted sweatpants
Yeah.
in the office, and then I've made fun of you for it.
I
so.
know, but I wish I could do it because they're so comfy and
Yeah.
feel nice in the butt.
Well, there are some stylish ones, like if you get like the silk kind of textured ones.
You can't be
I
wearing
have a-
you can't be wearing silk
Come
pants to
on.
work. That's weird.
No, I can't do
just
that.
on like a weekend hike or something.
I have like a 12-hour flight this weekend, and I'm definitely wearing some sweatpants.
Okay.
Better believe I'm wearing some silk pants on that flight.
Hell yeah, I wear silky pants.
Remember
on
when
the flight.
people used to
You do it
dress
in the
up
butt?
for flights? Put
Oh.
on like suit and tie.
Yeah.
dresses
Yeah.
and
I feel like that was like a thing
the
even
1920s.
Until, No, I think that was even a thing, and like up until like I was a kid, because I remember like the first time I flew anywhere, my mom was
a big
like,
deal.
"Yeah, it's like you got to put on a collared shirt. You're gonna get on
Yeah.
a plane."
And then you get your
What?
cigarettes out. You got smoke on the
Yeah, I was
airplane.
smoking
Remember
a
that?
cigarette. Yeah, when I was like
All the kids
6.
are like, yeah, that was nice. Remember?
Kylie
remember?
Daniel asks, no, nobody remembers that. Nobody's as old as you are, Pear.
That's right.
Kylie Daniel asks, Mario Kart Tour was announced back in January and stated to be released by March 2019, but we haven't heard anything since. When do you think we will hear more about this game, and what kind of game do you want it to be?
March
E3 highlight.
2019.
That's the mobile game, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's been kind of MIA.
yeah.
I feel like it'll be an early 2019 Nintendo Direct reveal where it's like,
Yeah.
and it's available right now.
When's the next Apple event?
That's a really good
That's
point.
a good question.
Just
Isn't it
had
always?
You don't.
Um,
It
They
doesn't.
just did it, yeah.
I mean, it really doesn't get better, bigger than Mario Kart, right?
Yeah.
Mario Kart is a bigger game than Mario Odyssey.
And they did Super Mario Run at an Apple event, so
Yep.
Yep.
That was
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
You
So
might be right.
Maybe
they
when
already have
the
those lines in.
next like $1,000 iPad gets revealed.
That was like literally a week ago.
That was a week ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, that means they're not ready to reveal it.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Also,
we're looking
Mario.
at- Are we looking at a potential delay, do you think, or is it still like one of those surprise kind of, and now it's available?
I think they could just do it without an Apple event. That's what they did with that Dragalia game.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
Also, iPads like
But
if
that's
you ever played
Dragalia
Mario,
Lost doesn't like necessarily need the pomp and circumstance of like a Mario Kart reveal. Like Mario Kart, Pear's right. Like Mario Kart is one of the biggest selling franchises of all time.
Yeah.
I think that they'd put a little more like marketing oomph behind whatever, because
Specifically
we haven't
Mario Kart,
even
yeah.
seen it, right? Like,
Yeah.
No.
it's just
Nothing.
a logo. trick.
We don't know
It's an
what it is either. Whether it's actually
Well, I
a full
assume
racing
I
game.
assume it's Mario Kart, but
Well, or it could be, I don't know, like a pit stop management game. Like you don't know. Like it might be. It's not like Fire Emblem is exactly like Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, Animal Crossing is also not exactly like Animal Crossing.
oh, I know,
Yeah. See.
I know.
been burned once before, huh?
Daytona Mario.
Yeah.
I'm in
Across
on that.
Americas.
Well,
Yeah, that'd be good.
maybe you just bet on the cars. Maybe it's like Touch Derby.
What if it's a game about a guy that has to clean up the track after the race?
Oh boy! All right.
Yeah.
that
All
was
right.
banana.
That got
And then-
away
and
from
then
us.
Every amount of money he makes, he pays on wine and cheese.
I love how everybody gets a
Bread.
bad idea and I put one in, then we're like, shut it down.
Yep. No, that's
cute.
it.
Thank
Chris
you.
Soto asks, if the Nintendo 64 Classic is announced with the rumored Direct coming, does it have a release this year? I think they would announce I think it would announce that it's coming in the spring. So I agree. No, there's no way that it comes out 2018. Also, the NES Classic and the Super NES Classic were released in November and September, respectively. So I think if we're talking about a Nintendo 64 Classic, which I honestly don't even think is going to happen, I think they're going to take those Nintendo 64 games and put them in whatever sort of virtual console solution that we have.
The thing is, like the way retail works, we would almost definitely have seen some sign of life of this
Well,
thing
there was
somewhere.
that whole thing about Nintendo re-upping the patent on the Nintendo 64
yeah,
controller.
yeah. I mean, we would have seen like a blurry image of like a GameStop promo thing or like
Maybe.
a
It
Would've been
a
some
skew on
cardboard
it.
image,
It's somewhere out
Yeah.
on
retailer.
Snapchat.
It's
Yeah.
too late. And also, I mean, they are selling classic consoles this Christmas. Don't underestimate how many people don't own a Super NES or an NES Classic.
Yep.
And, you know, I think Nintendo is just going to restock the retailers like crazy, make sure that there are enough in the pipeline now so that people, when they go into stores and they see the PlayStation Classic, can also pick up the Super NES Classic.
Yeah, a holiday time frame makes sense, but 2018 is over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it'll be next year. And do you think N64 Classic will be the next one? I kind of think they got to go Game Boy.
I would,
I would
love
a Game Boy Advance. Oh my
Aren't
god!
you guys cute?
No,
Dude,
original Game Boy.
Give me a Game Boy. Why not both on one system?
Think about how cheap it would be for them to do that simple Game Boy screen.
Yep.
Like,
well, what
A
I
Game
wanna
Boy
see-
Mini would be really cute. Like, but it's like shaped like a Game Boy Pocket.
It's just a Tamagotchi.
They made it micro. I mean, I still
remember
have
that,
that thing.
yeah.
I made Shaq play
it
that
doesn't
thing.
even have to be
It
that
comes with a
small.
little,
It
like,
could be.
stylus.
Yep.
So you can poke at things.
They could make it like yay big and put all the games on it. That'd be a differentiator.
I'm into
Not
that.
like you can buy those Game Boys anymore.
You mean I just want to
Well,
play
what if
Link's
they
Awakening
went
again? Give it
reverse
to
and
me.
went like Game Boy Large?
Ooh.
like it's like this, like
Well,
a
it
house.
doesn't have to be that. Yeah, exactly.
They already
It's
did that.
3DS. They just put it out in stores.
Did I ever tell you guys a story about when
Branding.
Game Boy
That's what-
Game Boy
Large.
Jumbo.
I had a
You're a
Nintendo
marketing genius.
I had a Nintendo GameCube that had like the screen, like the you ever seen one of those things, like a
Yeah.
portable screen for the
Yeah.
GameCube, and it had a
toilet.
Game Boy player underneath.
Yeah, you
And-
told this story.
Yeah, and so you could play a Game Boy like that.
Well, didn't you
There you go.
like
you
a real
play-
fool?
Didn't you play? You told the story about
Crystal
WarioWare.
Chronicles.
No, WarioWare Twisted.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
played with it like,
And you could hear the
twisting your-
disc like
yeah.
grinding in there, and that's actually one of the rarest GameCube discs now. Is the Game Boy player disc?
Oh,
Yeah, those go for like
have it.
hundreds of
Like
dollars,
nails on a chalkboard.
millions.
Russell Hodgson just says Mario Golf.
Yeah, sure, do it again.
Yeah, great.
Bring that-
That's not even a question. He
play
just says Mario
No.
Golf. Yeah.
I'm not much of a golfer. Mini golf though.
Yeah, I mean that's what. Well, okay.
see,
I
Mario
guess
Golf is
more than
Mario
mini
Golf's
golf.
just fun.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last Mario Golf, the one for 3DS, is like such a great Mario Golf game. Like it's
Yeah.
so perfect. I love it. I wish that they would do another one for the Switch. You know?
I'm sure there'll be one.
But I want them to do somewhere in between, like more RPG stuff than Tennis Aces had, but without all that dumb stuff that they put in Tennis.
The campaign, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
campaign
That's why I enjoyed Golf Story because it had like an overworld map and some silly side quests and all of that.
Did you finish Golf Story?
No,
Yeah, nobody.
I
did.
enjoyed it.
Um,
I didn't love it to the end.
You play Grease?
I liked it. I will play
Have you
Grease.
tried Grass?
I will play Grease.
Pass Patoot?
That's
Last question. Terry Leeds asks, sorry about that. Terry Leeds asks, do you think we will see a re-release of Ocarina of Time for its 20th anniversary, whether that is a Nintendo 64 classic or a Switch remaster? Well, here's the deal. So Ocarina of Time's anniversary is coming up in like 2 weeks. So I feel like if there was going to be an Ocarina of Time remaster, we would have heard something about it, unless they want to say like,
eShop bomb.
congratulations, Ocarina of Time is now on your Nintendo Switch, which would be great. Because I would love to play that on my Switch.
What sucks about the lack of a dedicated virtual console is that there's currently no like vehicle for that to just happen.
Yeah.
Whereas a couple years ago they could do that, right? On Wii, on 3DS, on Wii U, they could just be like, "It's the birthday of Donkey Kong. Here's the old Donkey Kong." Now it's just basically NES games. That's the only place they have to put those things.
That would
So-
be the coolest thing for subscribers to the online plan to just say, here is a $0 version of Ocarina of Time.
Oh,
for
it's free
everybody who's
now?
subscribed. Huh?
It's free?
Yeah.
Okay, let's
Yeah. They
rein
sold
in.
it so many times.
What? That doesn't mean anything. They've sold all of these things so many times, and yet here we
It
are.
means they can sell it so many times again. Back to
Yeah,
marketing.
you know what? That would raise expectations that you get more
Game
free
Boy
stuff.
Large.
The Game Boy Large is coming out.
and it plays Ocarina of Time.
You get nothing.
Long story short, no. I mean, I don't think we see an Ocarina of Time re-release for the 20th anniversary. But the good news is, next week's NVC, we're doing a special extra long episode, fully dedicated to Ocarina of Time. We're going to talk about our favorite Ocarina of Time memories. We're going to talk about the development of the game. Shigeru Miyamoto will be here
No,
to
that's
talk to
not
us
true.
about.
That is not true again.
I thought you called him.
No, he said he
He's busy.
said
on a
he's working on the
movie.
Mario,
working on that
Mario movie. He's trying to figure out how to make it very cheaply.
Yep.
That's true. That was a lie, but all that other stuff is true. Next week's NVC is going to be a very special commemorative edition, Ocarina of Time 20th anniversary retrospective episode. Still working on guests for that
Yeah.
one, but it should be a good episode.
I
so
will not
tune
be here,
in.
but you boys enjoy, and
You'll
girls.
be here.
I will not be here. I'll be flying.
But you hate Ocarina of Time.
It's one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah.
I hate it.
That really throws a hammer in the old spokes.
Yeah. Well, just remember in that game, you guys can talk about this, but isn't it weird when you go to read a sign?
You know what
sometimes
that means.
You cut it in half.
I'm going to have to bring Sam on.
Yeah. Well,
You can just live text,
that mustache is
and
sentient.
then it'll be on.
I could do that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll call you guys from
Can you
the airport.
record us like a little cell phone video?
Oh my God.
Telling us your
Yeah.
favorite.
Well, this
Whatever
show
you
is
need.
obviously
No, to
over.
Brian.
So, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Tina,
Thank you.
Lovely to have you on the show again. It's been a while. Don't be a stranger. And thank you for watching out there. Remember, you can watch NVC right here on IGN.com, Thursdays at 3 p.m., every Thursday, and Fridays at 3 p.m. on YouTube. I look a little bit out of focus, but that's okay. Catch us next week. We're going to be talking about that Zelda game that I mentioned earlier. I'm having a really tough time wrapping up this show. Get the thing.